150% increase. That's compared to the same period last year. Government has deployed ground and aerial forces alongside army units and volunteers to manage the crisis. To speak about it now, we're joined by Professor Yahia Zoubir, Algerian researcher, Professor of International Relations. A very good morning to Professor Zoubir, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So, as we mentioned, that these are record-breaking temperatures for North Africa. Do you think, just in terms of the global community, they are giving it the same level of interest and alarm as they would, say, with East Africa, with the floods and the droughts?
Yes, this year has been rather exceptional in Algeria, but it's not the first time. Summers are pretty hot in Algeria. And by the way, it's not just the southern Mediterranean. The northern Mediterranean is the same. I'm based in France, and it's awful. The temperatures have been rising a lot. But this year, I think that the country has been better prepared. The worst period was in 2021, where there were humongous fires and dozens of deaths, so the country was a little better prepared because they have those air tankers. They had imported air tankers. They had warned the populations about, the fires and the heat and how to deal with that. They have enacted laws. For instance, if you are criminal, even if you neglect, for instance, having a barbecue during this season and it causes fire, you are imprisoned for life. So which has not always deterred, dissuaded, some criminals, to stop fires. So it is pretty bad. It has gotten attention. There were about 140. Because I follow Algeria quite a bit. I focus my research on the southern Mediterranean, and there were about 140 fires. They were able to extinguish the majority of these fires, but now we still have about 20 that are still ongoing, and the fire departments and throughout the region are trying to deal with it. But it has been rather exceptional this year, like it was in 2021, with the only difference is that in 2021 the country was not prepared for it, and there were quite a few criminal fires that were caused by criminals, that they had even accelerated the fires. The investigations had shown what that it was criminal indeed. But there was another case, perhaps you may have heard of it, is the fire in the orphanage, and that has really saddened the whole population, because there were about 11 kids who died, orphans who died, and that was because of a faulty wiring. The authorities did not say that it was faulty, but there was a sort of a spark in the air conditioner. The air conditioning was ongoing, all night, all day. This is what they tried to explain it, and that caused the fire that killed those kids, and one lady responsible. I mean, who worked with the kids. She was 52 years old. So, but all this, relates most probably to this global warming that we are experiencing all over. Believe me, if you are in Europe right now, it is just a little bit less hot, but it's almost the same. It's rather sad.
There's an area called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, if it's Kabylie, but
Kabidi, yes.
about what has happened in that area and how different from what would be considered the norm. And most importantly, as you say, there has been an improvement in the response, but the early warning systems, are they evolving? Are they um, meeting the challenges, especially with regards to climate change impact in Algeria?
Yes, you mentioned the Kabylie. The Kabylie was, the focal point in 2021 because they believed the investigation showed that there were a lot of criminal activities by a movement that is now, listed as a terrorist organization. It's a separatist movement. It's a small movement, but it was active in 2021. This being said, what is happening today is all over the country. It's across the country. And as to your question, whether the country is better prepared, yes. Um, there are warning signals. The authorities have warned the populations. I have read all those calls. I myself received a message, telling the population, which areas are going to experience very high temperatures and what the population should do. And the authorities have been really relatively good. If you compare the way they have handled the fires this year compared to 2021, 2022, there has been real progress, I should say.
Has there been attention as a result of the climate change conditions and the fact that Algeria is a major hydrocarbon producer?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
I'm saying, has there been attention as a result of
Oh,
these climate impacts, the changes that you experiences, and the fact that Algeria is a major hydrocarbon producer?
no, Algeria is the largest country in Africa, and it has a history of fires. Like you said, in the Kabylie Mountains, it has happened before that. But the fact that it's a hydrocarbons producer is not the reason why there has been attention. I think it's because of the multitude of fires that occur across the country. It doesn't mean that the neighbors like Morocco, Tunisia don't have those fires. It's just the number of fires happen to be in Algeria, and the attention is mostly local. Uh, I think the one that attracted attention was the one I mentioned to you of the orphanage, because there were quite a few people who died. This time, unfortunately, there were some deaths, but nothing compared to 2021. 2021, you had dozens and dozens of people who died in those fires. And don't forget, also Algeria has a big desert, but the fires do not occur in the desert, but if in the at the gates of those deserts, there are areas in the highlands that are really hot and have the this fires they happen to occur rather regularly. But again, once again, there have been warnings, there are laws in place, there have been preventive actions by the authorities and so on. And Algeria has been in the news for these fires. Not, I don't think it's because it's a hydrocarbon producer, but it's the multi. They have been. Uh, I think this year the ones that the fires that started were number 190 something, and now there are less than 20 still ongoing, and the fire departments of the throughout the region, throughout the country, are dealing with that and trying to extinguish them. And the populations, contribute to trying to put them out. And even the military has been
Okay.
involved. They have sent quite a number of troops to try to help the fire department to put them down. And by the way, and as I
Professor?
repeated, Algeria since then has bought a lot of air tankers to fight the fires, so they were prepared for it.
Right. Thank you very much for your time and sharing your thoughts, Professor. Much appreciated, Professor Yahia Zoubir. He's an Algeria researcher and professor of international relations, speaking to us about the climate strange impacts in Algeria. It's a little after 7:30. Let's go back to Jwalani Tulongwepe for news headlines.
SABC News headlines.